can call this meeting to order. Good evening, everyone. This evening we have two agendas that we're going to be following. First is the Committee of the Whole agenda, and that will be followed by the council meeting. We're going to start off with a prayer by, I would assume that Councillor Kenny, are you going to do it for Councillor Butters since she's not here? That's great. Thank you, Councillor. And that's going to be followed by the national anthem sung by Mr. Joe Longfellow, and of course, followed by all members of council and all those in the gallery and staff. So with that, Councillor Kenny, you can start us off.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day and for your blessings. Almighty God, you have given us this good land as our heritage. May we prove ourselves a people mindful of your generosity and glad to do your will. Enrich our citizens with your heavenly grace and prosper them with happiness. Help this council and staff make wise decisions for the benefit of all. This we ask in your precious name. Amen.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love, in all thy sons' command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north, strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Well, thank you, Joel. Well done as always.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My pleasure as always.
Madam Clerk, are there any addendum items this evening?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. None this evening.
Thank you. Members of council, I need a motion to confirm the agenda, please. Councillor Bodner, Councillor Doucette, are there any questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. Thank you. Are there any disclosures of interest this evening? With none, we'll move on to the determination of committee items requiring a separate discussion this evening. Members, Councillor Bodner.
Item 3, Mr. Mayor.
Further items? Councillor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item 2.
Further items? I will ask that a member of council raise item 10. Thank you. Any further items? Councillor Kenny? You're good? With that, members, a motion to receive the remainder of the items. Councillor Elliott. Seconder, please. Councillor Desmarais. Questions or comments to that? All those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. Thank you. We're going to go right into delegations, members. We have here with us this evening Debbie Spraggett, the Administrator, and Carmela Rulli, the Chair of the Port Colborne Hospital Foundation, regarding the fundraising campaign for Port Colborne General Hospital. Ladies, as always, welcome, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. Your Worship, Mayor Badaway, and members of council, on behalf of the Port Colborne Hospital Foundation, I thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak here this evening. Our foundation is celebrating a special anniversary this year. 20 years ago, through the vision of our predecessors, the Port Colborne Hospital Foundation was formed and incorporated as the fundraising arm of the Port Colborne General Hospital. We stand before you today proud and honored to be keeping the spirit of our original founding members alive in our beautiful community of Port Colborne. Not everyone realizes the important role hospital foundations and their generous donors and supporters play in the delivery of quality healthcare services in their communities. Our goal here today is to create community awareness about the Port Colborne Hospital Foundation, our mission being to foster the spirit of giving, to help fund equipment needs for services that benefit patients served at the Port Colborne Hospital site. At this time, we would like to share with you a slide presentation about the Port Colborne Hospital Foundation. Debbie?
The Port Colborne Hospital Foundation is an independent charitable organization governed by a volunteer board of directors serving our community. The foundation is separate and distinct from the Niagara Health System and its board of directors or trustees. We are also separate and distinct from the Niagara Health System Foundation. The Niagara Health System Foundation are the folks right now that are raising funds for It's Our Time campaign. Did you know there's no government funding available for the purchase of new or replacement equipment? The Port Colborne Hospital Foundation depends on the community for 100% of the cost of urgently needed medical equipment. How do we raise our funds? Well, I'm sure everyone here knows how we do that, but we're going to review them anyway. We have events. We have several events during the year, and we have third-party groups who also raise funds for us. We accept bequests and other planned giving. We receive gifts from service clubs, as well as donations from businesses, individuals, and organizations. Thanks to our donors in Port Colborne, we have been incorporated since 1991. This year is the foundation's 20th anniversary, as Carmela noted, and since 1990, $2.8 million of your money has been used to purchase equipment for the patients served at the Port Colborne General Hospital. This year, we are committed to purchasing $121,200 in equipment of the $518,700 of urgently needed equipment. Of that, $72,000 is for a call bell system for the 2 South and 2 West. It's $36,000 per floor, $5,000 for a vaccine refrigerator for the urgent care center, $5,600 for a CAD pump for the complex continuing care, and $11,000 for the centrifuge lab for the laboratory. They've requested this since 2005, 2006, and we're only now can we afford to support them. The beds. We have 46 inpatient beds on 2 wings of the hospital, 2 West and 2 South. All of the beds are complex continuing care. Complex continuing care means that patients have 2 or more complex conditions that are not acute but require ongoing hospital care. Support services at the Port Colborne site. We have palliative care, physiotherapy, occupational therapy, recreational therapy, speech therapy, clinical nutrition, social work, diagnostic imaging, laboratory, and pharmacy. These are some of the services that we still offer. We've always offered at the hospital. Some of our outpatient clinics, diabetic education, ear, nose, throat clinic, eating disorder clinics, gynecology clinic, infusion service, internal medicine, mental health, methadone clinic, orthodontic clinic, urology clinic, and orthopedic clinic. Other services that are at the hospital are bridges, CCAC, which means Community Care Access Center, Meals on Wheels, and Dr. Shu provides primary care to new patients supported by a team of his own health professionals. How can you help us? Individual donations, memorial donations, planned giving, sponsorship of our major events or donations, support our events by attending, volunteer on our board, volunteer for the foundation, and always be an ambassador for the Port Colborne Hospital Foundation. The foundation executive for 2010-2011 is Carmela Rulli, who's our chairperson, who's worked in the hospital services for many, many years. Bill Armstrong is our vice chair. Bill owns his own real estate company here in town. Leslie Kennedy runs the Meals on Wheels for Port Colborne, and Nancy Harpenig is a retired teacher from Port Colborne. Claudia Bremer is known as the lady at the hospital. Claudia spent her whole career working at the Port Colborne Hospital. Lee Vanderland from Pinty's Foods. Marge McAvoy. Marge is a retired nurse from the Port Colborne Hospital. Laurie Slider, who works at Meridian Credit Union in Port Colborne. Cindy Thorpe is a bank manager for Scotia Bank in Port Colborne. Marie Vanderland is our chairperson of our golf tournament. And Mike Sloat is our newest member, who owns and operates at 27. Our mission, as Carmela has already mentioned, is to foster the spirit of giving to help fund equipment needs for services that benefit patients served at the Port Colborne Hospital site. Annual events to support the foundation, the Tim Hortons Elimination Dinner and Draw. You can write it down already. It's February the 10th, 2011. Our Golf Classic is always the last Wednesday in May. Cash Draw, which we've just completed, is in the summer. Our Country Walk is October. And our Ribbon of Lights campaign starts in November. Thank you. Remember, we're investing your donations in your health care.
Great work, ladies. Great work. Members of council, any questions or comments? With no questions or comments, ladies, wonderful work. I noticed you had a list of different services that you're offering at the hospital. Last week, members of council recall that we spoke about and informed members of council as well as members of the public of some of the other services that we're in fact working on. Some good news for the hospital, the renovations happening at the UCC, as well as the virtual health team that's being created at the hospital, and finally the hospital site being the site for the Niagara Health System, a teaching site on behalf of the Niagara Health System. So it's great news for the community hospital, but as well great news that you folks are still strong and getting out there to try and raise some funds for some of the equipment that's needed for our hospital site here in the city of Port Colborne. So well done, ladies.
Right.
To yourself and well done to the team beside you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vance.
Members of council, with no questions or comments to the presenters, and once again, ladies, thank you for your time this evening. I'll dive right into my report this evening, and apropos, a lot of it is having to do with healthcare. A quick update on the Niagara Health System, the NHS Hospital Improvement Plan Tripartite Committee. Members of council are aware that on May 31st, 2011, the Minister of Health and Long-Term Care requested the Hamilton Niagara Haldeman Brant Local Health Integration Network to develop and implement a process to conduct an independent third-party evaluation of the implemented phases of the Niagara Health System's Hospital Improvement Plan. Members of council are also aware that the LHIN was asked to create a tripartite committee consisting of board members from the LHIN, board members of the NHS, as well as members of Niagara Regional Council, to create the draft terms of reference for the evaluation. The LHIN has called this group the NHS HIP Tripartite Committee. In response to the call, as you are aware, the regional chair, Gary Burrows, has appointed myself, along with Mayor Doug Martin from the town of Fort Erie, as well as himself to that committee, and a subcommittee has also been established, and this committee includes Mayor Jim Diodati from the city of Niagara Falls, Mayor Barry Sharp from the city of Welland, and along with the three of us, our intent is to move forward with our expectations with respect to the outcome of this committee, as well as the establishment of the terms of reference. The NHS HIP Tripartite Committee is charged with seeking input from community partners, very important, as well as health professionals, emergency medical services, long-term care, and the Community Access Center, and of course public health established and well running at the region. This to endorse a draft terms of reference and then to present these terms to the LHIN board for final approval. Members, as an update to you as well as to the community, we continue to develop our terms of reference for the tripartite committee evaluation of the HIP, and while we do that, we are in fact faced with dealing with a multitude of challenges which can very well be expected. After completing 2 meetings, I must admit I have 2 concerns, overlying concerns. First, that the terms of reference, as I mentioned at the last meeting, not only reflect what has been implemented within the HIP, but as well what will be implemented. This has been a point of discussion at the meetings, at both meetings that we've attended, and we're expecting, we're not hoping, we're expecting that as we move forward with the terms of reference, that this will in fact be a part of the terms of reference. And as I said at the last meeting, it is extremely important, and the reasons being extremely important, that we are proactive versus reactive. Being proactive, as I stated at the last meeting, saves money. Being proactive saves time. Being proactive saves effort. Being proactive empowers the entire Niagara community to work together toward a common goal of quality, equitable health care. Being reactive, as I stated at the last meeting, well, look around. How's that working out for Niagara? My second concern is with respect to the alternative funding agreement. And members of council, this is very important. And for those listening out in Cogeco land, extremely important that an alternative funding agreement be reestablished for Port Colborne General. The bottom line is that the doctors will not have a contract past March of 2012. And I'm extremely concerned about the alternative funding arrangement that our physicians who staff our hospital have for compensation for their medical services at our hospital. We are and always have had a wonderful working relationship with all of our physicians here in the city of Port Colborne, and quite frankly throughout the entire region of Niagara. And we insist that that relationship continue, and therefore these physicians have a front and center presence as part of this evaluation process. We feel this needs to be addressed now. Now, not a few months from now, not in January, February, or when it's too late beyond March, but now within this evaluation process, that a plan be established before the alternative funding agreement ends in March of 2012. If not, the outcome is disastrous. If this isn't established, we will otherwise be in jeopardy with respect to our hospital's 24/7 services. And this is very important to understand, that once this AFA expires in March, we will have a very difficult time in not only receiving the dollars needed to fund the human resources for our hospital to operate 24/7, which then, as I said earlier, puts in jeopardy our services with respect to being a 24/7 site. Very important, and very important, therefore, that as part of this evaluation process, to therefore establish that now before it's too late, and we are then here in 2012 in the same chamber fighting for 24/7 services at our hospital. Members of council as well, on your desk tonight you'll notice a summary report of activities with respect to Niagara economic development, including specifics on the many current initiatives that both this city as well as the region of Niagara are embarking on. As you'll note, it is too lengthy for me to read during my mayor's report in its entirety. I think it's 7 or 8 pages, and I'm sure you don't want to sit back and listen to all that, so hence the reason for the documents distribution to you to read at your leisure. However, the reason why I bring it to you this evening is that it complements the region's ICP report, 63-2011, that's contained within this evening's agenda, and I will in fact reserve further comments until council discusses this report later on this evening. And finally, members of council, I have to take this opportunity to thank and congratulate our community for once again coming together to showcase the city of Port Colborne, the region of Niagara, to the world. I have to admit, I've been asked throughout the weekend and even by the media to what we attribute the continued success of Canal Days. What makes it so popular with the masses of people that come here year after year, the hundreds of thousands of people that come here year after year. And I have to state this, as I did to actually Joe Barkovich of the Tribune, that the continued success of Canal Days is not only attributed to the multitude of events and venues, both on and off the water throughout the community, and of course our natural attributes as with respect to the city and the region and in terms of what we offer on a daily basis. The most important component of this event's success is the volunteers, our staff, as well as the sponsors and overall community support. Everyone in fact pulls together to successfully showcase this city and this region to the world. Hundreds of thousands of people that come here to Port Colborne and the region of Niagara to not only enjoy the events here, but also all the other attributes that we are so proud of throughout the entire region. It's extremely important that we recognize that Canal Days celebrates the city's marine heritage, yes. Port Colborne was in fact born due to the construction of the Welland Canal. However, equally as important is the contribution of the Welland Canal to the city's and region's economic future. Port Colborne is in fact the Port of Niagara, a transportation hub that takes advantage of all methods of transportation, therefore allowing industry to reach their business targets. with the importance of efficient, cost-effective, and environmentally friendly transportation to industry, including our location here in Port Colborne and throughout Niagara. It places both Port Colborne and Niagara at a competitive advantage when investors are scouting for a location to invest. Although it is often thought that heritage may be a thing of the past, in fact, it is not. It is not. Our heritage is what makes us what we are today and well into the future. The key is not only to celebrate it, but as well to nurture it so that it continues to contribute to our future. To all those that participated, members of council, members of staff, the hundreds of volunteers, as well as those sponsors, well done. You, in fact, are the folks that should take the bow. You are the one that allowed us to showcase our small community and this bigger region to the world. And we do, in fact, look forward to 2012. So great job to everyone. With that, members of council, are there any questions or comments? With none, I will also this evening, Councillor Barrick is on vacation, so I will accept any questions or comments to the regional councillor. No questions or comments? Members of council, the floor is yours. Any new business or councillor's items? Councillor Doucette.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. In talking about proactive response, I mean, the mayor said it the best. I would like to find a way, and I would like to, through you, sir, to Mr. Aquilina, maybe request something to give us ideas and options on how to be proactive. We now have 2 property standards officers, and I would like to see a proactive approach instead of a reactive approach in some way. But exactly how we can accomplish that, I think we can leave that to staff to come back and tell us how that would be done. But I would like to see a proactive approach to all of this instead of a reactive approach. We may need to do both, I don't know, but I definitely want to see a proactive approach to the property standards.
Thank you, Councillor. Mr. Aquilina, any comments?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Councillor Doucette, I did have an opportunity to briefly talk to the councillor, and absolutely, I'll have a report forward for council's information and direction. Right now, we are reactive. We do have 2 enforcement officers. One's now knowing the lay of the land, so definitely we'll take a look at it further and report back to council and get some direction as to what you would like us to do.
Thank you, Mr. Aquilina. Councillor?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. One of the reasons I waited as long as I did to request this is I wanted the new person to get the lay of the land. By September, October, he should have the lay of the land. He's been with us since, what, May? Beginning of May, middle of May, something like that. So he should know the lay of the land by now, or pretty close to it. So now we should be able to get some kind of plan down. So that was one of the reasons why I waited till now. The other question I have, and it's probably through you, sir, to Mr. Aquilina as well, got an email from Liz today, and if anyone knows Liz, she was reading something in Toronto that there were federal funds that had been approved for agencies to use to get better accessibility for handicapped. She was wondering if we at the city had taken advantage of that, or was it just strictly for Toronto? And I was just wanted to know so I can email her back and say, yes, we have, or no, we haven't, because just so that she has a response of some kind.
Great, thank you, Councillor Doucette. Mr. Aquilina?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Doucette. Yes, there is a program available. I know Mr. Heil's executive assistant did forward an email to all directors to look into, and we will certainly do that and see if there's any eligible projects that may be applicable to that the funding opportunity.
Great, thank you, Mr. Aquilina. Thank you, Councillor Doucette. I have Councillor Steele and Councillor. Did you want to comment on that, Bob? Go ahead.
Your Worship, 2 issues. There is a grant for $75,000 for the museum, and we're hurrying. There'll be a report coming back to council because the tenders have come in substantially above the $75,000, and we want to take advantage of that $75,000 and turn it into a really accessible facility over there. And you have to do it anyway in the law by 2025, and now is the time. A few years from now, we doubt there's going to be money there. So we are taking advantage of it. There is still some opportunities, and we are going to be researching that, as we discussed at director's meeting. In respect of property standards, Mr. Mayor, and I want to report to members of council, I had a meeting with the Niagara Prosperity Initiative Gentleman, Mr. Rick. Yeah, we're both going. And the lawyer that is also representative. And they were, Port Colborne, they want to use Port Colborne as kind of the poster child, or maybe the guinea pig, I'm not sure. Talking about ways of getting at slumlords in the city of Port Colborne. Tenants are afraid to say anything for fear of being kicked out, those kinds of things. And they're looking for the city to be proactive. I've asked for some case law. The lawyer's going to send me some information about methods that we can consider that would probably be part of Mr. Aquilina's report in respect of ways to try to look at not only the outside, but probably more importantly, the inside of some of the dwellings, some of the tenant places. We will be bringing a report back to council as soon as I get more information on it, and we'll incorporate it in Mr. Aquilina's report.
Thank you, Mr. Heil. Okay, that's fine, Councillor. Councillor Steele.
Thank you, Your Worship. I do have an item, but just to Councillor Doucette, I do chair the Disability Committee, so if you just forward me that information, I mean, as the CAO stated, the museum did receive that. We actually discussed that at our last meeting. We're not meeting till September. We don't meet in the summer, so, but our staff does bring forward all kinds of information at every meeting with regards to any type of programs or what may be available out there, as well as members of our committee also bring that information forward. So we'll certainly, yeah, if you can get me that. On my issue, though, Your Worship, I'd really like to say a number of thank yous. First of all, to Adam and Linda Creighton. I had the pleasure of emceeing the Stanley Cup ceremony that we had at H.H. Knoll Park during Canal Days. Very well attended. It was in Quebec City this past week, and they had barely 1,000 people, and we had more than that. So that was good. And theirs was planned a lot further in advance. I was at the Chamber of Commerce barbecue with many of you, and I received a phone call. I grabbed the CAO and said, hey, I got an opportunity to get the cup here. Adam and Linda are calling me. They want me to look after it. What can the city do? I'll tell you, in about 10 hours, we were able to secure a flight from Tillsonburg to the Niagara South Airport. The police escorted it here. Our fire department was involved. They got lots of great pictures at the fire hall, which Adam asked me if, while it was here, could we get in? And he said, I want to see the police, I want to see the firemen, and I want to see those guys. I said, well, we'll bring you to all those people. So we did. We got them onto the Niagara Regional Police boat, which was escorted by the Coast Guard, and especially by the Cotter, who's fought 2 fires here in Port Colborne. For those that don't know, the Cotter is the fireboat from the, retired now, from the Buffalo Fire Department. Unbelievable. I being at the park, I didn't see what went on in the canal, but from everybody that I've talked to and some people that came rushing over once it went through the canal, they just couldn't believe what we did for the Stanley Cup. And we had literally hours to put this together. So Gary Makins and Gina Murdoch and the staff over there, thank you. Bob and your staff here at City Hall, thank you. The Niagara Regional Police, the pilot that flew the plane, and the sergeant that grabbed the cup, and Walter, the white gloves guy, thank you. The Coast Guard, thank you very much for the escort. I know they were battling with the NRP whose boat it was going on. I guess they lost. RCMP. Or the RCMP. Well, I've got getting to those guys. The Cotter, thank those guys. I know they've asked a few of our guys at work to meet them at a hockey game this year so they can tip a few glasses of cold Irish milk over in Buffalo. Thank you. And all of our staff out there, the guys on the street that help control crowds and everything else, it was phenomenal. And again, the RCMP, we had a good honor guard. Port Colborne Minor Hockey, we had our Bantam championship team, which we've had here before, and we got a hold of as many kids as possible. We had them sitting on the front of the stage. It went fantastic. The PA system was set up for us. We thought we had the big PA system from the concert the night before, but it was gone. Yes, and B. Kenny's grandson, Brock, got to sit in the cup. The only problem is I think he has a really bad rash from wearing all that Boston stuff. But, I mean, I am a Leafs fan, but, you know, it's great that a fellow like Adam, who born in Burlington, grew up in Welland, his father played in the NHL, played for the Leafs and a number of other teams. Adam decided to reside and raise his family here in Port Colborne. He's been involved in Port Colborne minor hockey as a coach, and also as a mentor to our coaches and to our executive over the past. But to get a hold of us and allow the city to be able to do this was just fantastic. So again, thank you, and everybody else that helped. Thank you. That was it was. I met more people from not Port Colborne in the line. Pennsylvania came here, heard about Canal Days, came here for Canal Days. They couldn't believe that we got the Stanley Cup. So while people were getting their pictures taken, I kind of gave them a quick story of it, and they just thought the whole event was phenomenal, and they just couldn't believe they could touch the cup, stand next to a former NHL player, and now scout for the Boston Bruins. It was great. You know, and people from all over, Toronto, Niagara especially, a lot of people from Niagara, a lot of people from Welland who didn't get involved, who, because of dignitaries, and I'll get into that in a minute, queued themselves before the general public, and you know, they were a little PO'd at what happened, so they were down here, and two people in particular, or one family and another guy. 8 a.m. they found out the cup. 8 a.m. Saturday morning, they sat in line at the park. Another guy on the hour ran around the park with a big Boston flag, screaming the cup is coming. It was clockwork. It was pretty good. But you know, that's the kind of passion we have for the Stanley Cup. It is the hardest trophy in the world to win, in the best sport in the world, which is hockey. But I got to make a comment. I will thank you, Your Worship, and the rest of our dignitaries for waiting till the end. And Adam asked that. He allowed allowing the families and the kids to enjoy the cup, and that's exactly what the mayor wanted. It's exactly what he wanted, what I wanted, and you know, we got as many people in. But at the end, hey, we all got our wish. We all got to have our pictures taken. So thank you guys. It was great. We got our Canal Days marshal in there. Got his picture taken at the end, and then we also had, which was good, is the gentleman who lost his son in Afghanistan. He was killed along with Tyler Crooks. He was there with his van. They had a booth here that weekend, and he asked if Adam and the cup could get a picture with his son that was with him, plus the van which had the picture of his deceased son. And he was just flabbergasted that Adam took the time to talk to him and stand there, hold the cup with the guy, and take a million pictures. I was able to use his camera and took a zillion pictures for the guy. It was fantastic. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Steele. And I have to say this, being a Leaf fan, wasn't it nice to actually see the cup in color?
Your Worship, as long as it's never the color orange, I'll be happy.
You don't have to throw that one in. Thanks, Bill, and to you, thank you. I know how much work that you did on this, so great job to you and the Minor Hockey Association and all the folks that worked on it behind the scenes. It was a real coup to get that cup down here during Canal Days, and it was a job well done. Further new business. Councillor Elliott, Councillor Bonner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just two quick items. Through you to Ron. Due to Canal Days, and we lost Clarence Street Bridge. Again, the question pops up, are we doing anything to rectify the situation with the lights at Mellenby Bridge? I know we've discussed it before. Where are we on it? And can we get the advanced green to go across the bridge for the people southbound?
Mr. Hanson.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that request had been sent previously by the previous council and dealt with by, we got a response from the region at the time. It was sent again when it was raised by this council. I haven't got an official response back from them. I know we are, between Dan and I, we're actively working on that subdivision, the Island Estates subdivision that's going in there. And as a matter of fact, if that subdivision goes ahead, we now have a four-way intersection with a new set of traffic signals there, which will ultimately resolve that problem. But the timing on that's probably not going to be satisfactory to everybody. But let's continue to pursue with the region and see what we can do with the queuing. I think there's road width issues southbound on Mellenby that would prevent an extensive queue along there because of the lights, but it's something we've been working on for some time.
Councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And don't get too comfortable because I got one other question for you, too. It was brought to my attention during Canal Days. I was volunteering at the museum, and a question came up. The laneways that run between the streets behind houses where the garages, the access to them, in particular Lockmaster Lane. I had a lady ask me, when do they get fixed? Are they on a schedule for repair? Is it complaint driven? What can she do because she's sick and tired of driving through the potholes, having her car almost bottom out? I did drive down Lockmaster Lane from behind TD Canada Trust out to Fielden. It's really, really rough. I just wanted to know, is there a schedule, or is it just, do we respond to complaints?
Mr. Hanson?
Through Mr. Mayor, the laneways are maintained on the same basis the roads are maintained. Some are gravel, some have a hard surface on them. The grading of the laneways usually occurs sometime in June. Is a good time to bring the grader in, bring the extra stone in. A lot of them have been done. If there's any laneway, we just pass it on. If there's any laneway that needs some work, just pass it on to me. We'll get a work order on it right away, and we can usually address it within a day or two.
Councillor?
Lockmaster Lane, put that on the top of the list. Because, and I did drive through from Fielden over to Steele, and yeah, we should take a look at it. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you, Mr. Hanson. Councillor Bodner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to whoever can answer it, maybe Ron. Missing fire markers, you know, the address markers in the rural area. Who deals with that? Is it the fire department, or do we have a process for that?
Mr. Hanson?
I'd give you the address, but it's missing, so I can't.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The fire markers were coordinated by the fire department, so if there's any missing, just pass it on either through me or through Mike Bendy at the fire department, and it'll be addressed right away.
Thank you, Mr. Hanson. Councillor Bodner? That's good. Councillor Desmarais.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to, as Councillor Bodner said, whoever can answer it, I do have a question surrounding the fireworks at Canal Days. Canal Days was wonderful, and I as well applaud staff and all the volunteers. It's just a great thing. And I would not want to see the fireworks changed, but the people on the east side, particularly Welland Street, south of Nickel, and in some ways Ferris Street as well, need to have some assurances that they're going to stay safe from falling debris from the fireworks. I have a bag of some bits of shrapnel, I guess you would call it, that came down on roofs. When they come down, they're glowing hot. So they come down as red embers, and that's a little scary if you're sitting there watching the fireworks and you see things landing on your roof and think, uh-oh, I'm going to have a fire. The odds are they're not going to have a fire, but considering we do take wind direction in consideration for the fireworks, it would really be a good thing is if we next year, if we saw the wind was going to head to the west with the likelihood of spreading this stuff around, we just put some volunteers over there, some staffers or some possibly volunteer firemen over in the area just to be able to reassure people and to watch out so that the people know that we're on guard and we're watching the situation. So I know you can't help this. It's not something that's planned to happen, but this is now the second time it's happened, and we should be proactive on this as well.
Great, thank you. Mr. Howes, want to comment on that?
Your Worship, we'll take this to the Canal Days Committee. As part of that program, public safety is first and foremost, and we'll look at what we can do in respect of trying to maintain, the beauty and the grandeur of the fireworks, but at the same time assure the citizens that it's being done safely. We'll see what we can do.
Great, thank you. And we'll be sure to bring that to the fire chief's attention as well, and the fire prevention officer. Thank you, Councillor Desmarais. Any further new business or councillors' items? With none, any updates from staff? Mr. Howe?
Your Worship, at Canal Days, there was a town crying competition sponsored by the museum. As you will recall, the city's crier, Derek Miller, resigned earlier this year, and we were without a town crier. It's symbolic, but yet it is official, and can serve the city as an ambassador throughout Ontario and parts of the United States and across the world. There are some 1,000 criers around the world. In Ontario, there's about 70 of them that represent mayor and council and the communities, and they bring greetings and all sorts of good things. Anyway, the competition was held. We sent a call out for persons that might be interested in trying it, and everybody's a little nervous, I guess, and there weren't any, I guess, volunteers that wanted to come forward from the city itself to try it out. However, we were fortunate to have 6 of Ontario's criers, members of the Guild of Criers, the crier from Whitchurch, Stouffville, Oshawa, a crier from the county of Brant, crier from Welland, from Niagara Falls, from Thorold, and from St. Catharines, who attended here, who were going to judge the competition. They had a parade up West Street, and it's very colorful and it's very, very historic. And next year, in the War of 1812, would be an excellent time to have them here. And maybe there may be consideration to host the provincial championships. We're going to find that the problem is it's got to be with some money. That's the problem. Easy to do, but money's going to be a problem. We'll find it. Anyway, there was a crier, a chap by the name of Thomas Picard, and Thomas has aspired to be a town crier, but unfortunately, he currently lives in St. Catharines. He's a dentist, a professional. He has traveled a lot in the world, and many criers do not live in their communities. I was officially a crier for Lincoln and for Waynflete and for Haldimand and lived in Beamsville. A lot of them are 2 or 3 municipalities. Anyway, he asked if he could perform a cry, and the mayor had written 2 cries for the competition. He actually did the cries, and he impressed everybody. I have appointed him as interim town crier. He will be coming to council to show you what he can do. He has a beautiful voice. He has a tremendous stature, and will be a respected crier. And the uniform, I think with a little bit of adjustment, will fit him perfectly. So the official city uniform will fit him. He has a beautiful voice. I've pulled a few strings with the Guild as a life member myself and asked him if he could be permitted to compete this Saturday in Brantford. And I believe the Guild is going to let him cry, representing the city of Port Colborne. I hope he does well. Anyway, I just wanted to report, Mr. Mayor and members of council, that I have appointed him as interim town crier, and he will be coming to council. We'll be looking at further appointment from council.
Thank you, Mr. Howell. And is it the intent to bring a report to actually bring him on as full-time town crier?
Your Worship, he is worthy of a full-time appointment, I believe so. I've seen him, I've heard him, and I've had some wonderful reports. I want to bring it to council so that it will be your judgment in respect of the role of town crier representing the mayor and council for the city of Port Colborne.
Thank you. Any questions to that, members of council? Comments? I think although he doesn't live in the city, he lives in St. Catharines, he still lives in Niagara, and that's, yes, that's paramount. So being in Niagara, he's local. So great job, Bob. Members of staff, any further updates? Banners? Can I give a quick update on the banners?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. What we did on Friday, this past Friday, we received 2 quotes, and for the first time that I've ever been in municipal government, the exact quote came in from the 2 companies. So what we did, we then asked each company to bring forward an actual sample of the banner so we can actually feel it and determine what was the better quality. We already know what the images are going to be from council direction, so it's just a matter of looking at the banner, feeling it, looking at the threading, the material, and determining which one we feel will give us more longevity. So we then made the decision to hire a company. They've been informed. Mr. Heil, given our purchasing policy, has given the okay to give them the job. So they're in production right now, and they'll be up sooner than later, hopefully.
Thank you. Councilor?
Just a concern I have of the weather. If we're only putting them up now, are we going to be taking them down in October or November before the real bad weather hits so that we can use them next year? I mean, if anything, we'll get maybe 2 weeks of the summer, 3 weeks of the summer on these, and then that'll be it. I was under the impression they were supposed to be up like weeks ago. So, I mean, I understand the process takes time, but my concern now is if we put them up now, are we going to have to buy brand new ones for next year? Especially if the material with the sun and the burn and everything else. So I just have some concerns of that. Sure. I just don't want to spend money for nothing.
Mr. Aquino?
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. Part of the price is for the contractor to put them up. We probably think we could get them till November, December. And then city staff will then take them down, put them into storage, and bring them up again in the early spring. So
They'll survive.
we hope so.
Actually, the quality of the banners are quite good, and I know from putting up the banners in support of our troops. I think I put those banners up, what, Bob, about 4 years ago? 3 or 4 years ago? And besides the one that was at the Legion, the other ones held up pretty good. And these banners are pretty close to the same quality. Actually, I think they're better quality, quite frankly. So they'll hold.
You know where I'm coming from.
Yeah, I hear you. We had that discussion on Friday, actually. Okay. Any further updates from staff? With none, Councillor Danch, go ahead.
Just a thought there, we were talking about Main Street. For the people in the community, they might notice there are some overhead decorations between the bridge and Mellenby Avenue. There's 4 of them that are lighted up. Maybe take note, send me some feedback or send it to City Hall, which ones you like, don't like, whatever, but just take note because these things are going to be put up all down Main Street, and your input is needed. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Members of Council, with no further new business, I will ask for a motion to accept the minutes of the 19th meeting regular of committee. This dated July 25th, 2011. I have Councillor Desmarais, Councillor Steele. Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. Items requiring a separate discussion, members. We're going to start off with item number 2. Councillor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Department of Planning and Development report number 2011-62, subject recommendation report for zoning bylaw amendment, file number D14-06-11, Todco Plan of Subdivision be approved, recommending the zoning bylaw amendment is necessary to allow a broad range of residential uses on the subject property. Therefore, the Planning Division recommends 1, that Council of the City of Port Colborne approve the zoning bylaw amendment attached hereto as Appendix A, rezoning the land from existing R1-H, R2-H, and RT-H zones to a site-specific R4 352-H, multiple residential special holding zone. 2, that the city clerk is hereby authorized and directed to proceed with the giving of notice of passing of the bylaw in accordance with the Planning Act. 3, that pursuant to the provisions of Section 3417 of the Planning Act, no further notice of public meeting be required.
Thank you, Councillor. Do I have a seconder to that, please? Councillor Kenny, questions or comments? Councillor Elliott and Councillor Doucette.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Dan. Seeing as we turned down the plan of subdivision when Todco came back, the extension for the plan of subdivision, does this zoning change just apply to the land and it's just going to stay with the land regardless if the plan of subdivision is gone? And if that is so, does it put a restriction on anybody else that wants to come in and take over the land and develop it going forward? Or would a new developer have to come back for rezoning should he won't change the plans for that parcel of land?
Mr. Aquilina.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Councillor Elliott. Tonight's decision, subject to Council's approval and no appeal, is just given the legal use of land, and it's going to be subject to a holding provision that requires a subdivision agreement to be entered into. If that never happens, the zoning still allows you to have the uses. However, there can never be a shovel in the ground because the holding provision ties to the subdivision agreement. The approval or the denial of council of the draft plan, as members of council may be aware, that's now under appeal. It has no bearing on your decision this evening. 2, your second point, if this is approved this evening and the subdivision agreement never comes forward and a new developer wants to then reapply to council, if the draft plan is denied by the board or whatever, they then have the legal rights of the land. If there are any changes in use or zones that this bylaw would pertain to, they would have to then come forward to council for reconsideration.
That's fine, Councillor. Councillor Doucette.
Councillor Elliott more or less asked the question. There's only one little piece here that I want to know. Is this advantageous to the city or not? And the reason I'm saying that is there's no reason for us to do anything and spend money and spend staff time on something that's been on the books for so long that it's unbelievable. Okay? So my concern, is it going to cost us anything? Is it worth it for the city to do this? And if so, then let's do it. If not, let's just drop the whole thing and forget it.
Thank you, Councilor. Mr. Aquilino.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Councilor Doucette. I'm not sure if I can answer that question, whether it's good for the city. The application is being brought forward to look at land uses from a planning perspective, more or less fall in line with the provincial policy plan and the growth plan. It's a better development for the city. It allows more uses on that property, more intensification. The question of whether or not the city should go forward with that, councils have made its decision not to extend the draft plan. Tonight, we're only looking at land use, subject to a holding provision. Is it going to cost money? It may cost money for the city to defend its decision not to extend the draft plan. However, tonight's report deals with the zoning of the property. If there is no appeal, and depending on what council does this evening, it may be appealed if it's denied, for example. It's too hard for me to say to council whether this is good or not. I just give you my planning opinion, and this is a better zoning for the city. It allows more of a broad range of land uses on the property and be more marketable.
Thank you. That's fine, Councilor. With no further questions, members of council, your pleasure to the motion. All those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. Thank you. We'll now move on to item 3. Councilor Bodner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Department of Engineering and Operations Engineering Division Report Number 2011-39, subject East Side Bulk Water Filling Station Update Report, to be approved, recommending that the Council of the City of Port Colborne approves option B2 for the location of the new East Side Bulk Water Filling Station, and that staff prepares tender documents for the construction of the facility in 2011.
Have a seconder to that, please. Councilor Doucette. Questions or comments? Councilor Bodner.
Thank you very much. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Mr. Hanson. I read the report, and it's just simply down the road a little bit from the original location. I guess my question is, the pictures all show a bottom filling unit to fill the water hauling trucks. And I want to be assured that there will be a top filling unit that will be discussed with the water haulers, as some of them have a concern that it takes an extra 20 minutes to fill their trucks. Time is money, and I would hate to see an increase in the water to the rural residents of Port Colborne. Plus, they would be limited in the number of trips they could make a day with the extra time filling. So I wonder whether you could enlighten me as to whether there'll be a discussion with a top fill unit. And also, I know we're looking at a bottom fill for a number of different reasons, one of them being safety or contamination possibilities with a top fill, but is that mandated by the government yet, or are we just looking forward that it may be mandated?
Mr. Hanson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To Councilor Bodner. The photograph that I've supplied with this report is strictly an illustration. In fact, it's the new station was constructed in the city of Welland. As they were constructing this bulk water station, they also constructed a top fill station at the same time in another location. It's strictly an illustration of the new new style of water station that's available. I'm told by our staff and by our water foreman who operates the facility that our standpipe can be moved to the new site with some simple refurbishing, some sandblasting and so on. So we can either move that standpipe from the existing station. If council decides they want to build the new station in the proposed location, we can move that, build the new station and have the standpipe there. So we would have both top feed and bottom feed capability available with this station, if council so desires that to be constructed in that way. As Councillor Bodner has said, there are pros and cons to the various types of loading. There's been some issues that have come up. In fact, the city of Whitehorse were sued in the case of a health and safety issue whereby a water hauler fell off the top of his truck as he was loading with a top loader and was seriously injured. So There are some issues with that. Fortunately, in the city of Port Colborne, we haven't had any incidents of that type with the two top-load facilities we've had since 1986. So our proposal is that once council makes a decision tonight on how we want to move forward with this station, we will convene a meeting as soon as possible with all the bulk water haulers. If any of the councilors would like to attend, we'll make you aware of the meeting, and then discuss with the haulers what the pros and cons are and how they want to see this proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Hansen. Councillor?
Thank you. I'd certainly like to attend that if you can let me know when that is. So are we looking for a decision tonight on a top fill versus bottom fill, or are we just looking for the location? Because I'd certainly, if we're looking for that decision tonight, I would like to add to this that we look at a top fill as well as a bottom fill option, and include that in this report tonight.
Mr. Hansen?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Bodner, I haven't included all the pros and cons as we see them with the different types of loading systems. So we weren't expecting council to make a decision tonight on the type of station. We need a decision on whether we are going forward with the construction of a new bulk water station. We can provide additional information. We'll make that available to both the councillors and the bulk water haulers at the time of the meeting. If council so decides they want to definitely see it this way, and understand there's been a number of calls from the bulk water haulers, certainly that could be put in as an amendment and give staff direction on how they want to see us proceed with this.
Councillor?
I certainly would like to see us put it in as an amendment, top fill and bottom fill. I guess we could do both, Mr. Hansen. Is that an option, or would we do one or the other?
Mr. Hansen?
The new facility, if it were constructed, if council approves construction of it, it can be built with both capability. There's simply a switch between bottom feed and top fill, and that could be constructed into the new facility.
All right. Hearing that, then, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make an amendment to this to say that we will both do top feed and bottom feed and use our existing equipment if it's possible to move it over. Would make sense, seeing as how we still have it there and it's working. So.
Okay. Do I have a second to that amendment, please? Councillor Desmarais? Are there any questions or comments to the amendment? Now, just one question, Ron. Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have no objection, actually, because I tried to call a couple of the water haulers today, but of course they're out hauling water, so couldn't get a hold of them. But I think that I would really appreciate, though, if we met with them first. Yeah. I think it's important that you get their input, not just make up your mind already, we're going to do top and bottom. I think it's important to get their input, exactly what they want to see at this facility. I think my understanding when I read this report is that we're just going to decide tonight if we're going ahead with a new one and its location. And I'm very much in favor of, voting on the location and then meeting with these individuals. And Mr. Hansen, I would appreciate as well an invitation to that meeting. I'd like to hear what they have to say. But I think they're the ones that use it, that we should really take into consideration what they have to say before we make any decisions on the type of design or what we really want in there until we hear from them. They use it. I think that we should just wait until then and hold off on your tender documents, I guess, until we have that meeting.
Thank you, Councillor Kenny. Councillor Doucette.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I would tend to believe we are going to need both. And the reason I'm saying that is the pumper for the fire station only feeds from below. So we're going to need a bottom feed for sure. Okay, because we're not going to have a pumper that we can't fill, and that's the only way it can fill it. And then you may have to go to the other route. But yeah, I agree with you this evening. Let's decide whether we're going to and where we're going to put it, and then let's move on from there.
Thank you, Councillor Doucette. And that was actually where I was going, Councillor Kenny. I'm glad you got to it first. Is the fact that, and just clarification, Ron. Or Councillor Bodner, with respect to, and I did talk to Jimmy Bouchon, one of the haulers, back on Thursday, and Ron, that's why I sent you that email about that meeting, and to hold that meeting so that therefore we can listen to the haulers in terms of what some of their concerns are. And I tend to agree with Councillor Kenny to look at having that meeting and then making a decision before making a decision tonight. So I know, Ron, you probably got the same calls. I'm sure you got the same calls from the same folks. And I would actually recommend that council put this, decide, as you said, Councillor Kenny, with respect to moving forward with the location and, of course, the construction of a new facility. But anything further than that, let's have a discussion with the haulers first and then make a decision based on that discussion. Councillor Bodner?
Mr. Mayor, I can live with that. It's just that it's going to be top fill, bottom fill. That's what they want,
right,
in discussion with them. So the design will be, whatever our guys would come up with that meets all the regulations and everything. So whether we do it now or do it at the next meeting, I don't have a problem. I would ask Mr. Hanson, is this time specific? Do we have time to do this? When do we have to move that other one? Is it in the way of that Health and Wellness Center?
Mr. Hanson?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. The only restriction right now is we'd like to get it done before the December, before the bad weather. We don't want to be working on the water system, obviously, after December 1st. So we're hoping to get it done this year. If we can move forward quickly, if a decision is made tonight, we may move forward quickly on the meeting with the haulers and the design documents. We'd hope to get those out very quickly. And I don't think it's going to take a long period of time to build this system. I'm not certain of the delivery of the station itself. That may be the critical component in terms of timing, but it's not critical in terms of the health and wellness facility that'd be out of there this fall or this winter. We certainly have time next spring to move it out of there.
Thank you, Mr. Hanson. May I suggest, Ron, maybe a little rejigging of the amendment is basically just to say that we'll put the overhead and the below fill in, subject to discussions with the haulers. Would that be all right? Okay.
My understanding was a meeting was going to be arranged with the haulers, so that's fine. Yep.
Great. Thank you, Councillor Bodner. And the seconder is fine with that? Okay. To the amendment, members of council, all those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. To the amended motion, any further questions or comments? Councillor Steele?
Just for your information, Pelham just completed theirs at the corner of Canberra and Effingham. It's a bottom filler. It's a brand new station. I was out there about a month and a half ago, and actually I called Ronnie to ask him about it. So if anybody does have questions, they can also call the town of Pelham and see how that's working for them. Also in Vineland, there's a private operator right near the retirement, the Terryberry Library. I think it's the Terryberry Library. Rittenhouse Library, sorry. Terryberry Library is in Hamilton. Right across the street, there's a private hauler that has a bottom filler. So obviously they work because there's 3 brand new ones. So,
thank you, Councillor. With no further questions or comments to the amended motion, all those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. Thank you. Item 10. If someone can put that on the floor, please. Councillor Doucette.
That the correspondence received from the region of Niagara Integrated Community Planning Committee report ICP 63-2011 Gateway Economic Zone and Center Implementation Update be received for information and referred to staff as a complement to the city's upcoming Industrial Community Improvement Plan.
Thank you, Councillor. Is there a seconder, please? Councillor Steele. Questions or comments? With none, I just have a few comments to make as I do chair this committee at the region, and how important it is to recognize that this is in fact the economic strategy that the region is embarking on, and how important it is that each individual municipality understand what's being done actually. I think for the most part, municipal councils not having the I guess for lack of a better word, the intimacy of being involved in this process since day one, often ask the question, what the heck does the Gateway Economic Center Zone mean? This, once again, is in fact the region's economic strategy. This will drive the region's strengths, not only with respect to establishing tangibles within the marketing of the region, in particular as it relates to its strengths, but most importantly, in terms of giving this title some legs. This report does in fact now go beyond the title of just simply being a gateway economic zone and center. And again, it's no longer just a title. It has legs. It has substance. This report, and I'm sure you read it, as you'll recognize, establishes, as I said, tangibles to market Niagara's strengths. It promotes the employment lands that Dan and Ron have worked on for the past few years here in the city of Port Colborne and across the entire region of Niagara. How does it benefit Port Colborne? Once again, it promotes those very lands that we've just recently established, especially those lands along the 140 corridor from Main Street in Port Colborne to Main Street in the city of Welland. Most importantly, members of council, and this is something that you may take for granted because it's not something that you recognize or see on a daily basis. That is with respect to the pipes that need to go underground to service those industrial lands. And with lands being identified within the economic gateway or the gateway economic zone and center, with those lands being recognized, it also adds not only credibility, but it adds an effort to in fact now look at the 1 to 5 year capital plan regionally on what priorities we have and where that money in fact goes when looking at putting new pipes in the ground to service new lands. Port Colborne is ranked in the top 3 areas of the economic gateway for those areas to be developed and therefore be invested on regionally. With that as well, you'll recognize a lot of the other efforts that are happening, and that was why I gave you this document, because this paper that I wrote as an update actually went to the media a few months ago, but as well to regional council with respect to their discussions with the new economic development offices, both as part of the region as well as member municipalities. It shows that the substance, the guts of economic development in Niagara is in fact there. It's just a matter of now putting a structure, a discipline structure of promoting economic development and who in fact is going to be doing that. And lastly, and I think Dan may comment a bit on this, is with respect to the incentives that are identified within this report. Those incentives will in fact work in tandem with the incentives that we have here locally. And by that, having a gateway community improvement plan is no different than a community improvement plan that we have locally. The most important part now is, and Dan, I'll be looking at you to be a bit more definitive on this, is how it will then work in tandem with each other with the CIPs that we have in place, the 5, now 4, because we just completed one, and how it will work together with the Gateway CIP working into the future. The passing of this report, members of council, will now allow us to move forward with Niagara's economic strategy, starting with the marketing of a suite of incentives, and now giving us that competitive advantage to do that, especially when we're in competition with a lot of other jurisdictions worldwide that have incentives in place as well to try and attract new industry. So with that, I'm going to ask Dan to speak a bit on that and on the package that we're trying to put together, especially as it relates to how it will complement the CIPs that we have in place. Mr. Aquilino.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As council is aware, we do have, and we're working on right now, an employment industrial community improvement plan. We're almost nearing the end of the draft document before we release that and meet with the public. It's being worked on. And what this will do, when we have our CIP in place, and I believe ours will be in place a lot sooner than the regions, no disrespect to you, Mr. Mayor, but it will be something that will work part and parcel. The regional CIP document will have more of the provincial powers that we as a municipality won't be able to do, i.e. a tax-free incentive zone, for example, similar to what they have in the U.S. So ours will work part and parcel. It will be before council sooner than later. But what this also will achieve is this is our missing link to our local official plan, adopted plan that was put in place by council in 2006, which we will soon rescind. We are just waiting for the economic gateway policies. Once we have those from the region, then we'll be able to roll out our official plan for the public's review and ultimately re-adoption by this council and then up to the region. We want to have those in place before we give them our final document. So everything is kind of working holistically, both from a regional perspective and from a local perspective. It's all going to work together, hand in hand. And as Mr. Mayor had mentioned, it's going to promote economic development not only in the region, but here within the city of Port Colborne as well. So we look forward to the anticipated report being completed.
Great, thank you, Dan, and no disrespect taken. I think it's been a great process. I'll tell you, regionally and locally. I know Dan's been working on it from this end, myself at the regional end, and I'll tell you, this document right here really shows a lot of the efforts and a lot of the initiatives that are underway. And again, I don't want to get into it tonight because it's quite lengthy, but please take a read over it in terms of a lot of the things that were happening. Some of the next steps, members of council, that you're going to recognize, it not only includes with those efforts as it relates to NEDCO and the new world of the Niagara Economic Development, and who's going to be charged with those tasks, but also, and more importantly, is to include the private sector. We have to reculture ourselves as government to start thinking like the private sector when it goes to getting new economy into our area. We have to service the economy, and by servicing them, we have to listen to them and learn from them, and therefore ensure that we cater to them and react appropriately as per the private sector would otherwise do. So we have to really gear ourselves to, if we want new economy, to listen to the current economy. And of course, everyone throughout the region. When I say everyone, I mean the 12 member municipalities speaking from the same song sheet, speaking the same message with respect to what Niagara has and will continue to offer. And finally, is to align with our transportation assets better provincially, to ensure that what we have to offer here in Niagara as it relates to multimodal transportation, but more importantly, how we connect multimodal transportation provincially. How does Windsor and Sarnia, Brantford and London take advantage of the Welland Canal? And I think what we have to start working toward is another option as it relates to a presentation to the provincial government, whoever that provincial government may be past October 4th or 5th or 6th, whenever that election is, October, to present a second option to provincial government as it relates to that mid-pen corridor connecting the QEW to the western end of the province, and therefore creating that second trade corridor. All a part of this process, and not only a part of this process in tandem with our 12 member municipalities, but also working with Mayor Frio from Brantford, Mayor Bradley from Sarnia, Mayor Francis from Windsor, to in fact ensure that those gateways throughout the province of Ontario are connected. We have 4, Ambassador, Bluewater, Niagara, and Thousand Islands. It's critical that we create those connections between those gateways. 401, and keep this in the back of your mind, a second option for the next government of Ontario is the expansion of the 402. And the 402, in fact, from Sarnia into Niagara is what would otherwise be known as the mid-pen corridor. And those gateways can, in fact, be connected. So it's something that we're working on at the region. And, of course, the impacts are great as it relates to all the member municipalities throughout the region of Niagara. So with that, members of council, again, very important process, and stay tuned. Although there was a title to it, now it's got legs. The Gateway Economic Center and Zone is, in fact, what's going to look to the future as being Niagara's economic strategy. Any further questions or comments? With none, all those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. Thank you, members. With no further items, members of council, we'll now move on to the notices of motion. Are there any notices of motion this evening? With none, move on to adjourn this portion of the meeting. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Doucette, Councillor Bodner. Questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. Members, will now move on to our council agenda. We'll start off, Madam Clerk, are there any addendum items?
None this evening, Mr. Mayor.
Confirmation of the agenda. Thank you, Ashley. Confirmation of the agenda. Councillor Doucette, Councillor Steele, questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. Disclosures of interest. With none, I have 2 sets of minutes. The minutes of the 26th meeting special of City Council, July 11, 2011, and the minutes of the 28th meeting regular of Council, dated July 25th, 2011. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Elliott, Councillor Kenny, questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. Are there any items requiring a separate discussion? Those items listed on your agenda, mover and seconder, please. Councillor Steele, Councillor Desmarais, questions or comments? All in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. Oh, Ashley, you got me with 3 tonight, eh? Okay, I'll be looking for a mover and seconder for 3 proclamations this evening, the first being September 15th, 2011, National Family Dinner Night, something I'm sure we all have every night, don't we? Members, mover and seconder, I'll be looking for that whereas families sitting down for a meal together can have a lasting positive effect on open communication between children and parents and reestablish a sense of family unity. And whereas family experts and researchers confirm that one of the most valuable gifts parents can give their children is time spent together as a family. And whereas M&M Meat Shops successfully launched National Family Dinner Night 4 years ago and have encouraged thousands of families to sit down and have dinner together. And whereas M&M Meat Shops will be asking families to register their participation in National Family Dinner Night on their website, www.nationalfamilydinnernight.com, as of August 1st, 2011. And for every person who registers, M&M Meat Shops will donate $1 to the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation of Canada, and will pay for every meal that you guys have. I'm just kidding. Don't want that to get out, do we?
We don't care, but
Now, therefore, I, Mayor Vance Badaway, do hereby proclaim Thursday, September 15th, 2011 as National Family Dinner Night here in the city of Port Colborne. And I want to add, Ashley, that I would encourage other municipalities to jump aboard this. I think it's a great thing to do, and I congratulate M&M Meat Shops for sponsoring such a great program. So with that, I do ask for a mover and seconder, Councillor Steele, Councillor Desmarais. Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. Thank you, members. The next proclamation is that whereas Port Cares is a unique community organization here in the city of Port Colborne that provides leadership, support, and resources to improve quality of life. Port Cares is caring for our community. And whereas Port Cares is requested, and Port Colborne City Council has approved the observance of a Port Cares Month to be held during the month of September 2011. And whereas observance of Port Cares Week would encourage a broader interest in all that happens through Port Cares and promote ongoing and new supporters to this organization. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Vance Badaway, proclaim the month of September 2011 as Port Cares Month within the limits of the city of Port Colborne. Can we not expand that throughout the region of Niagara? We can't do that?
Yeah, we can.
We can try.
Yeah.
We can say it.
Sure.
Members of council, mover and seconder, please. Councillor Doucette, Councillor Elliott. Questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. Thank you. The last proclamation, members.
They're very similar.
Okay, I got it. I seen Port Cares again. I thought, okay. Once again, with Port Cares, mover and seconder, I'll be looking for. Whereas Port Cares is a unique community organization in Port Colborne that provides leadership, support, and resources to improve quality of life, Port Cares is caring for our community. And whereas Port Cares has requested and Port Colborne City Council has approved the observance of a Port Cares Week to be held during the days of November 18th to November 25th, 2011. And whereas observance of Port Cares Week would encourage a broader interest in all that happens throughout Port Cares and promote ongoing and new supporters to the organization. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Vance Badaway, proclaim the week of November 18th to November 25th, 2011 as Port Cares Week within the limits of the city of Port Colborne. I'll leave it there. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Kenny, Councillor Steele. Questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. Thank you, members. There are no minutes of boards, commissions, and committees this evening. Members of council, are there any notices of motion? With none, we'll move on to the introduction of the bylaws. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That the following bylaws be read a first, second, third time, and finally passed. Bylaw 5680-11111, being a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw 1150-9781, and is amended respecting part of lots 31 and 32, concession 2, in the city of Port Colborne, known as the north side of Main Street West at First Avenue. Bylaw 5681-11211, being a bylaw to authorize entering into a bulk water sales agreement with John Boy's Water Haulage. Bylaw 5682-11311, being a bylaw to delegate signing authority to the fire chief to execute indemnity agreements with outside agencies, property owners, and municipalities from time to time for fire department training purposes, subject to certain conditions. Bylaw 5683-11411, being a bylaw to exempt from taxation property leased by the city for parking purposes at 230 Main Street West. And finally, bylaw 5684-11511, being a bylaw to enter into an agreement of sale to the Port Colborne Social and Recreation Center for Senior Citizens for a garage and hobby shop located immediately south and adjacent to 554 Fielden Avenue.
Thank you, Ashley. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Kenny, Councillor Steele. Questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. Madam Clerk, the confirmatory bylaw, please.
That the following bylaw be read a first, second, and third time. It finally passed bylaw 5685-11611, being a bylaw to adopt, ratify, and confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Corporation of the City of Port Colborne at its regular council meeting of August 8, 2011.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Danch, Councillor Bodner. Questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. Councillor Danch, is that your horse out there? It's getting ticketed right now.
My horse is put away in my...
It's getting ticketed. Well, it's, it is a Mustang.
That one has 400 horses. It's the Bumblebee.
Members of council, I will now ask for a motion to go into closed session to address the following matters. A, the minutes of the closed session portion of the July 25th, 2011 council meeting. B, confidential Chief Administrator Officer Special Projects and Corporate Strategic Initiatives Report. That is a mouthful. Number 2011-14. Subject, the Sugarloaf Marina Restaurant lease pursuant to Municipal Act 2001, subsection 239, 2A, the security of the property of the municipality or local board. And finally, C, confidential Chief Administrator Officer Special Projects and Corporate Strategic Initiatives Report number 2011-5. The subject, Sugarloaf Marina lease pursuant to the Municipal Act 2001, subsection 2392A, the security of the property of the municipality or local board. Movers and seconder. Councillor Danch, Councillor Desmarais. Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? That will be carried. And before we move on, just for those that are watching on Cogeco, our next meeting is scheduled for Monday, August 22nd. That's my anniversary. Here at the committee, or here at the council chamber, Committee of the Whole Council, beginning at 6:30 p.m. once again here in the chambers. And following that, we have a meeting on September 12th, Monday, Committee of the Whole and Council, once again here in the chamber, beginning at 6:30 p.m. So with that, have a wonderful week. We'll now go into closed session.